else's abuse of power. And no survivor has to wait decades to be heard. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing in survivors. And thank you for standing with us as we fight to protect the next generation.
Joining me now is Elie Mystal, justice correspondent for The Nation, and Wajahat Ali, journalist, author, and proprietor of The Left Hook on Substack, and scourge of Democratic leaders everywhere. Thank you both for being here. We're going to talk about that in a minute, Waj, but I do want to ask you both what you made of the choices that Democrats made to either attend and protest, skip altogether, or walk out. And I will start with you, Wajahat Ali, because the gentleman who we interviewed most recently, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, had advised people to stay and not talk and not make noise. A lot of people defied him.
Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries decided that the best path forward is to play possum with fascism. And I think we've learned is like, you can't play footsie with fascists because fascists come for everyone. Thank God that you and Katie and others decided to do what I recommended, and also our friend Kurt Bardella recommended, is that the State of the Union response, Abigail Spanberger, she was fine. Nothing really memorable, but she was fine. What they should have done, Joy, is you should have had Ro Khanna, Thomas Massie, perhaps some other Democrats, do exactly what you just showed. Have the survivors of Epstein, the rape cabal, and also have some ICE survivors come up and address the nation for 10 minutes. I thought that would have been the most devastating, most powerful response. But instead, Hakeem Jeffries said, don't do anything. And we found out that Greg Casar and other progressives said, yeah, we tried that last year when we just sat there like morons and just showed our stupid ping pong paddles. Maybe we should do something. So first of all, shout out to Al Green, who understood the assignment 2 years in a row.
Yes.
He was the man, folks, 70 plus years old with this cane, sat there and yelled at Donald Trump last year when he said all the lies about Medicare, Social Security. What happened to Al Green? He was escorted out. Democrats joined Republicans in censuring Al Green, Joy.
Yeah.
I always keep the receipts. This year, Al Green's like, all right, I got my one moment. Let me use my moment. Black people aren't apes. And the anti-cancel culture people got rid of him. Hakeem Jeffries sat there, stone-faced like a mummy. Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, at least spoke out. What I would have liked them to do, Joy, is if you're going to sit, I would have had them just do one slogan. Hold up a sign, release the Epstein files. They didn't even do that, Joy. So that's my response.
And, Elie, I think, it's a tough case. And I will tell you, both of you, and I can tell the audience in the chat, everyone, that I did speak with a couple members who I will hold their confidentiality, who admitted that it was a huge missed opportunity and a mistake last year when everyone didn't walk out with Representative Green. When he walked out and you saw everybody kind of looking away, Elie, as he was walking by with his cane in his hand, and those who realized that was a mistake, they were with me at the People's State of the Union saying this is where we need to be, not there. What do you make of it? 4 Supreme Court justices, Elie, did attend. Of course, John Roberts, as usual, as well as Kavanaugh, of course, Amy Coney Barrett, and Kagan. Yeah.
And Kagan.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't if Al Green had been shot, would the Democrats have just sat there?
Yes.
Like, oh, somebody, like what the lack of solidarity in this party is disgusting. Their inability to just not even stand for us, to stand for each other. What did Al Green do wrong that required him to be escorted out of the building? He didn't disrupt anything. He held a sign that was parroting back the Republicans' own language to them. Yeah. And for that, he gets kicked out of the building. And all the rest of the Democrats who showed up are just like, what can one do? Like, what is that with this party? I truly don't understand. The party insists on treating Donald Trump as if he's a regular president, yet expects us, the voters, to treat him like he's something else, right? The party treats Donald Trump like he's a Democratic president, but then turns around and tells us, the voters, that we should view him as a fascist. You cannot have it both ways. If he is a dangerous fascist, then showing up for his dangerous fascist pep rally is a mistake. If he is not a dangerous fascist and you can just go to his pep rally, then what are you doing telling the voters that he's anything else? But it doesn't connect. And one of the reasons why I think voters and the media do not treat him like the dangerous fascist that he is because the Democrats refuse to. Yeah. If the opposition party is not going to do it, why would Pari Weiss, right? Why would CBS? Yeah. Why would anybody else, if his own opposition is just going to sit there, as Wash said, like mummies, and let him again kick black people out of the building just for standing up for themselves? Why would anybody expect anything less? So I think that was the huge mistake on the Democrats' part. In terms of the Supreme Court, it was interesting that any of them showed up, right? Because Donald Trump is so very mad at them. I am, Joy, old enough to remember when Barack Obama criticized the Citizens United decision and the Supreme Court basically had a nutty, right? Sam Alito, not true, just like losing his mind in real time when Barack Obama said that. John Roberts, people don't remember this. After the State of the Union where Obama criticized Citizens United, John Roberts found his ass to a microphone, which he usually doesn't do. But somehow he found his way to a microphone to say, it's very troubling when you go to the State of the Union and the President of the United States calls you out. It makes me think that maybe the Supreme Court shouldn't attend these anymore. John Roberts had a nutty over that. This time, not 2 days after Trump called Roberts a slime bag, a sleazeball, and suggested that dissed him as a staff label and crew. 2 days after that, John Roberts is sitting there taking it all, right? Letting Trump just call him everything but the son of God. And he just sits there, doesn't say boo, doesn't find his way to a microphone to say boo. He just sits there and takes it. Boy, ain't that interesting. Right? Yeah. Boy, ain't it interesting that the angry white man can say whatever he wants and John Roberts doesn't say anything. But Barack Obama says one time, that decision wasn't the best. And it's front page news. It's an attack on the Supreme Court. So their internal hypocrisy really struck me by showing up at all and showing up and then not saying anything about the attacks that were levied at them from the podium at the State of the Union.
Yeah. And to go to the point of this not being normal. And I think we have to throw out all belief in tradition at this point, because as you all have both said so eloquently, Donald Trump is not a president. He's a wannabe dictator. And so why we're treating him like a normal president, this is why I'm not playing him tonight. His voice will be silenced. We're doing quiet Piggy night. Piggy gonna be quiet on this 2-hour show. Okay, Piggy can't talk. But I want to play somebody who we do want to hear from. This was one of, honestly, the most emotional moments for all of us. There was barely a dry eye in the House. And the woman who you guys are going to hear from right now is Arizona Representative Yasmin Ansari. And her constituent's name is Sonia Almares, whose partner, Adelia Yari Rodriguez Marquez, who is battling cancer and who has lived in the United States for 25 years and who had a green card for 2 full years, was detained by ICE agents last February. She's been in detention for almost a year simply for visiting Mexico and coming back. Listen to this. It's about 3 minutes. Take a listen.
Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari, I'm proud to represent Phoenix, Glendale, and Guadalupe in the U.S. House of Representatives. And tonight it is my absolute honor to be standing here with Sonia Almares. Sonia's loved one is Yari. Yari is a lawful permanent resident, a green card holder who was stripped of her legal status by Donald Trump's racist mass deportation agenda. For over a year, Yari has been locked up at the Eloy Detention Center in Arizona. Yari has leukemia. When I visited her, she was too weak to stand. When I sat with her, I watched her vomit blood. And tonight, while Yari suffers in detention, Donald Trump stands before Congress and lies to the American people. Donald Trump claims he is going after the worst of the worst, and that is a lie. Yari has no criminal record. Meanwhile, this administration and the Republican enablers in Congress handed ICE a $75 billion slush fund to terrorize our communities with no accountability. And let's be clear about who built this machine. Stephen Miller, the most awful human being, architected this cruel immigration agenda from the ground up. It is an agenda rooted in fear, rooted in hatred, and the belief that some people simply do not belong. Masked agents, violent raids without transparency, communities living in fear. That is not public safety. That is authoritarianism. Now I want to turn it over to Sonia, who I've gotten to know through this horrific experience, to share your and Yadi's story.
Thank you, Congresswoman Ansari. I'm honored to stand with you tonight to expose Transreal's State of the Union. Yadi is not a criminal, and for a year now, I have had to watch her health. I am so sorry. For a year now, I have had to watch her health deteriorate at the hands of ICE. Yadi has lost over 70 pounds. She's been coughing up blood for months on a daily basis now. She's too weak to stand. She has been diagnosed with lymphedema and arthritis on top of her cancer, and now relies on a walker just to move. Her suffering is preventable, yet ICE has denied the basic medical care. Yadi es una compañera amorosa, amiga y miembro de la comunidad que merece dignidad humana. We demand her medical release immediately. Let us get her back to health so she can continue to fight her immigration case.
Free Yadi!
Free Yadi!
Elie, how is that legal? She's not a criminal. She's not been convicted of a crime. She's been effectively in a concentration camp for a year.
Yeah, none of it is legal, but everything is allowed because nobody will stop them. I mean, it's as simple as that. There's no constitutional reason for her to be held. There are tons of statutes and humanitarian exceptions that will allow somebody to get medical treatment if they need to. Certainly, if, I don't know, a rich white banker was in that situation, they'd be released in order to get medical treatment. So there are numerous humanitarian statutes and exceptions available to handle this situation. It's not happening because the people who are running this country are evil. There are two Americas, right? There's the America that can listen to that can look at that and just not care and just move on with their lives, move on with their tax cuts, move on with concerning themselves only about the price of their own eggs. And there's the part of America that says that's wrong, we should do something about it. There's the part of America that feels empathy for that woman and wants, I think the word that really stuck out to me is the suffering is preventable.
Yep.
And there's an America that wants to prevent suffering, and there's an America that revels in the suffering of other. There's an America that is titillated by the suffering of others. And those Americans are the ones in charge right now. And that's why this happens.
I mean, Waj, it seems to me that, I think you both have made this point so beautifully, you can't normalize an administration that would put people with cancer in a concentration camp. Like, I don't know where to begin. I mean, between that and the Epstein situation, you have foreign governments that are managing to lock people up for just being, in community with Epstein, being friends with him. There's a guy named Peter Mendelsohn who is out of his gig in Britain. They're locking people up who just had some sort of relationship with him. In this country, Donald Trump apparently has been scrubbed from the records. I'm sorry, 3 interviews with the FBI with an alleged victim of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein has been scrubbed from the records, despite the FBI apparently interviewing this woman 4 times, who claimed that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein abused her when she was 14 years old.
Yep.
So in our country, Donald Trump is just walking around being president, and there's a woman out there who claims that he sexually abused her when she was 14, and the FBI and the DOJ is covering it up.
Well, what does it say about a country, Joy, that we just heard last night from a man who was held liable for sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll, was held liable for defaming her, incited a violent insurrection, pardoned the insurrectionists, was held liable for fraud, created a charity to defraud people, created a university to defraud people, and is a convicted criminal. A man who partied with the world's most notorious pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein called him his closest friend. We have all the photos. We have the evidence. We know now, according to that story that Roger Sollenberger, investigative journalist, last week found, is that in the Epstein files, folks, the Department of Justice in the year 2025, just last year, did an internal 21-page slideshow discussing this victim, this credible witness that they interviewed 4 times. This woman claims that in the 80s, she was 13 to 15 years old, Donald Trump tried to force her to perform oral sex on his fragility, his pathetic member. She bit it. He punched her. And she then later, after Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in 2019, then approached a friend, tipped off and said, oh, I think my friend here is a victim. They interviewed her 4 times, folks, 4 times. They scrubbed 3 of the 4 summaries. They only released 1. Furthermore, they haven't mentioned why they have scrubbed 3 of the 4 summaries. And I'll also put you, this is another data point, Joy. She was interviewed 4 times. After her 2nd interview, 3 days after her 2nd interview, you know who was found dead in a cell? Jeffrey Epstein. You know, a day after the FBI inputted her interview in the FBI database, a day after, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead. So I'm just putting it out there. She's a credible witness. Just because she's credible doesn't mean what she's saying is true, but the FBI found her to be credible. 4 times she was interviewed. In 2021, the Epstein estate settled with this victim. A settlement is not admission of guilt, but it is important to know that they settled with her. And furthermore, we still have no plausible explanation. I've heard all the explanations from the DOJ and Trump administration. None of it makes sense as to why they have scrubbed 3 of these 4 summaries of their interview. Why have you not released it? If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to lose. When we have a credible witness saying that Donald Trump and Epstein sexually assaulted this girl in the 80s, you interviewed her 4 times. You did an internal slideshow presentation of the DOJ. Where are the files? If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to lose. But I'll go ahead and say and speculate, if indeed in her interviews she mentioned Donald Trump, well, Joy, wouldn't you want to cover that up?
Yeah, if they're Donald Trump. I mean, and it appears that that is kind of what happened. And last night, Elie, to these points, Representative Summer Lee, we won't play it because we don't have the time to really play the full clip, but she said she would like to impeach Pam Bondi. Mm-hmm. And when I put this together, she's going to introduce articles of impeachment to actually go ahead and impeach Pam Bondi. And I'm wondering if maybe Kash Patel ought to get it too, because Kash Patel's in charge of the FBI. If those FBI interviews that Wad just described, those still exist, he has them. Maybe he should be impeached too.
Maybe we should ask the U.S. hockey team, men's national hockey team, if they've got the files, because they've been partying with Kash so much. Look, obviously I think impeaching Pam Bondi is the right way to go. She's not just terrible at her job. She's violated the law. The arrest of Don Lemon, the Lemon is a clear violation of the First Amendment. Like she should go. Impeachment is the way. Unfortunately, you're not going to get Republicans involved on board. You're not even going to get Republicans on board for most of the crap that Donald Trump was talking about last night. I mean, most of the things he said in a normal country would require congressional approval, but in this country, he's just going to do it by executive fiat, while Mike Johnson sits there and claps like a trained seal, but doesn't actually do his job. So the inability of Congress writ large to do their jobs, to do their constitutional responsibilities in terms of curtailing the power of the criminal president, is one of the biggest stories of our era. Is one of the causes of our era. Congress is not powerless. They are in a state of learned helplessness. Both the Republicans and the Democrats, they're in a state of learned helplessness that allows Trump to do so much of what we see him do.
Elie Mystal and Wajahat Ali, I appreciate you both. Thank you for being here. We'll bring you back often. Maybe kind of because it annoys the leadership of the Democrats.
Well, I you know what? They're never going to talk to me again, Joy. So after that, maybe as long as they keep talking to you, I'm happy. They ain't talking to me ever again.
Ain't nobody returns my calls. I don't even try anymore.
The gang
I think Hakeem Jeffries, they printed out my photo and they just use it as like dart practice.
Yeah, you know when you go to the store and there's like the people who stole and they won't let them back in the store, your picture is definitely posted in the leader's office and you ain't getting near him never again, ever again.
Joy, I asked real quick. I asked about, we reach out to elected officials. They've come on the left, they come on your show. After that interview, they at least used to respond to me. They used to say, no, we're busy. Now it's just like, who you? Mehdi Hasan? You're not Mehdi Hasan. Are you not?
It's called the Waj effect, because I'll tell y'all, we ain't getting our calls returned either, but it's all good. We get it once in a while. One of them will sneak on here and take the opportunity. We appreciate everyone who's brave enough to come on and answer the questions. That is kind of their job, I mean, they're public servants. Yeah.
And can I just say, Joy, I just want to say this is important for people. We didn't tag team on Hakeem Jeffries. No. Joy invited me. She said, I'm going to ask him about ICE. We said, great. Joy gave him 3 layups. She did 2 follow-ups. Then I did a follow-up. I think I gave him a meatball on a plate. And I thought, Joy, he would say, this is why I'm not for abolish ICE. Let me explain to you. But the disconnect with the Democratic Party and the base, what he said, he got angry. He got more angry at me, Joy, than he did at Donald Trump. Wouldn't you want to see that type of anger of Hakeem Jeffries against Donald Trump last night that he showed me in my very legitimate question as to why he doesn't embrace abolish ICE and why he still takes money from AIPAC?
That is what I think the base wants to see. I'll give Elie one more comment because I do have this question, because abolish ICE scares Democrats so badly, and I'm not sure why. I did speak with, one United States senator last night who actually is for abolishing ICE, and is very lonely in that quest. Democrats are very scared of it. Do you understand why that might be, Elie?
Yeah, besides the Democrats' natural ability to be scared of their own shadow, it's because Democrats believe that their way to victory is convincing fascist, racist Trump voters that the Democratic Party will give them almost everything that Trump gives them, just without some of the racial slurs. They think that's their path to victory. They don't think that their path to victory is motivating people who are already Democrats to come out and vote for them. Yeah. And that is their fundamental disconnect. Abolishing ICE is what their base wants. The Democrats don't like their base. They'd rather have Trump's fringes. That's right. They want Trump's sloppy seconds as opposed to the good Democrats sitting at home. And that is why they fail. I mean, and this is not the first time. This is a consistent problem with the Democratic Party in my 47 years on this good earth. They consistently want what the Republicans have instead of being happy with what they have at home, and that's why they lose.
Yeah. Elie Mystal and Wajahat Ali, thank you all very much. I went a little overtime with y'all because I just can't get enough. You guys are great. Thank you very much.